I started my first tech company at 19. That did not go so well. It
I
couldn't
didn't even
have
know
gone
this.
any worse.
Walk me through that. At 19 years old, you started a tech company. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I can't even remember what year this is. It's probably in 2005, 2005, 2006, I was living in Silicon Valley. So everybody started a tech company. I'm sure, have you ever heard of virtual assistants?
Of course.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody has. So we were one of the first people to kind of like create almost like the operating procedures for that and the standards for that using voice over IP. I'm sure most people nowadays don't even know what voice over IPs are. And then after that, uh, it was just such a miserable thing. I didn't really know how to scale a business. It was pretty cutthroat back then, especially in tech. And then, so I started a real estate company when I was 23. So a few years after, or a couple years after that. So I parlayed what I knew there into real estate.
And then what
And
kind of real
then
estate company was that?
it was a holding company. So I would purchase single family homes. And I did a few fix and flips. They're not my favorite. I still don't know why people like doing that. I think it's completely miserable. Um, However, it was like the hardest possible way, I think, to make money in real estate when I mostly did long-term holds. So I
Hmm.
purchased single family homes, put tenants in it, and then after a few years, I'd sell a few of the assets. But I sold that company, I'm going to say 5 years ago. Yeah, about 5 years
Okay.
ago now. It's been a long time.
And then what did that company look like at its peak?
So, um, it was really difficult. I was, when I started, I was married really young, and so I had a lot of issues in my marriage at the time. So I didn't have a lot of support. I pretty much weren't. I wasn't really allowed to network or talk to essentially men. So everything that I learned was from books and listening to podcasts, YouTubes, things like that. So at its peak, let's see, how many did we own? So I owned 70 with my partner, 70 homes with my partner. I owned 40 by myself, and we didn't have any investors, and I personally didn't have any investors. So I worked in real estate sales.
Hmm.
And so I believe it was for every two homes I sold, I would take that and put a down payment on a home. And I just did
Hmm.
that for several years. So I lived on a really, really tight budget. And the way that I purchased my first few homes, I don't know. I don't know how like legal. It's probably not, but it is what it is. I I went back to school and got student loans and dropped out of college multiple times.
That's wild. I've heard this strategy before.
Oh my God, I'm so glad it worked out right. And then I sold my car. We had a truck at the time. I sold that because God forbid you ever drive a gas guzzler. Like it was so crazy. So I sold that. I sold like clothes on eBay. I sold all of my furniture on Craigslist, and so I ended up being able to like, gather a bunch of enough money to continue to uh, put down payments on the homes, but also I needed to fix some of the homes as well, right? So learned how to be a contractor, you know, lay tiles, lay floors, and paint. I was a great painter. I was a
So you were in the
terrible
trenches.
electrician. I mean, being 20 nothing, you're like so broke and trying to get your business started.
You're like, I'll
So
do everything.
I do, I do everything. I know. I needed high margins. So,
So I kind of want to stay here because a lot of our audience, loves real estate and looking to either go from W-2 and get cash flow from real estate or start their own business and scale it. So you said you kind of hustled and did whatever it took to get those first couple houses, right?
right.
After that, did you raise money? Because it sounds like you didn't have investors.
No.
How'd you scale? What was your method?
What's interesting is I still couldn't tell you how to borrow money. I can go to JP Morgan or Wells Fargo or Bank of America, and I have great relationships with a couple of them. And then I had relationships with local banks. However, I have no idea how to invest. I didn't have a lot of partners either. I had partners in more like individual homes and things like that. But as far
Hmm.
as having like a 50-50 partner, I only did that maybe once or twice. Um,
So when you say
so,
you had partners, what did those partners look like?
so my the holding company that I had, we eventually wanted to scale quite quickly, and so I needed his income
Hmm.
and also his expertise in a couple different markets. So we were 50-50 on the 70 homes,
Got it.
but eventually I took what I learned and purchased a group of my own. And so
Hmm.
we ended up selling that business, and then I sold the 40 homes that I had.
Got it.
So,
So after the real
yeah,
estate, what happened after real estate?
after real estate, which was incredibly difficult, nobody told me how difficult it would be. I think it was the quickest way in your 20s to make money.